Hello YouTube, this is a March 2019 budget pendulum deck profile for Yu-Gi-Oh! I have mixed Performapal and Odd Eyes and Magician into one deck. And I'm trying to keep it budget friendly. I like pendulums a lot. I like the mechanic of pendulums, but this is not going to be nearly as expensive as the standard like 2018-2019 era Magician deck. But I do like Arc 5 a lot, so I kind of wanted to copy in the style of Yuya with the Performapal monsters. So here it is, Performapal Odd Eyes Magician, March 2019. Please enjoy. We start off with two Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, which is the beat stick in the level 7, so you can use it for your synchros, your XYZs. High ATK and a decent effect in the scale zone, so unfortunately a level 4, so you're probably not going to be using it to pendulum summon too much, but you can always pop it during the end phase and then add one pendulum card with 1500 or less ATK from deck to hand, kind of like Sangan for pendulums. So next we have three Pendulum Sorcerer, Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer, solid card to special summon because a lot of times I find myself scaling twice and then special summoning this card right here and then popping my two scale zones to search Pendulum Performapal cards with different names. So a lot of times I am searching these following two cards together. I'm searching Guitardle, which I have three of right here, and then also Lizard Draw, again have three. These cards go together, both scale 6, so not too bad. Obviously can't use it to summon that Pendulum Dragon, but a lot of the monsters are lower than level 6. So Guitardle and Lizard Draw, if you scale Guitardle first, you can then scale Lizard Draw, and then Guitardle's effect will go off when you activate another Performapal card in the scale zone. You draw one card, and then Lizard Draw, this is the combo here, you will pop Lizard Draw if you have another, if the other zone is Performapal, so Guitardle. So you pop Lizard Draw, you draw one more card, and then if you have Electromite 2, you can draw one card in addition to that. So with these two cards, you're drawing a lot, you're cycling through the deck. Kind of like Graceful Charity. I mean, you're using, with Electromite on the field too, you're kind of losing two cards, drawing three, kind of that kind of ratio. So I compare it to that. So to keep going, we have two Pendulums. This is kind of a budget-friendly card, definitely, with its kind of budget tier effect. I mean, it only gives your monster piercing damage for the turn. It reduces the defense of your opponent's monsters, but it is a searchable scale 2 off of Pendulum Sorcerer, and it's a level 4 for your XYZs. So for some one-ofs now, one Splash Mammoth, and also one Trump Girl. These cards kind of do the same thing. As monsters, they pretty much act as polymerization. Only difference between these two cards being that Trump Girl has to use itself as material for that fusion summon, but it saves you the effort of having a fusion card in your hand because it's kind of a 2-in-1 kind of thing. It's a monster as well as a polymerization. And Splash Mammoth is a once per duel with that effect, so I only run one. We have a Performapal Gongato, which stops battle damage either as a scale or a monster. It pretty much turns your battle damage into nothing, and it is a scale 2 Performapal name. Unfortunately a level 1, so it's pretty much impossible to pendulum summon out. So one of those guys, and then one Odd Eyes Unicorn, which is also a Performapal monster, I should say. So you can search it off a Pendulum Sorcerer, yes, and also search it off a Sky Iris as an Odd Eyes monster, and it's a searchable level 8 or scale 8. So pretty useful to summon out that Pendulum Dragon. And to help with summoning Pendulum Dragon, I do have two Dragon Pit Magicians in here. I definitely wanted to include the Magician archetype into this build. And to go with the Dragon Pit, I have two Dragon Pulse. These are kind of your go-to high and low scales here, and they also have good utility effects of popping spells or traps or popping monsters if you discard a Pendulum card. So more scale 8 magicians, we have a Black Fang, and then another scale 1 magician, we have a Purple Poison. Just different magicians with different names that you can search off a Pendulum Call, and of course they do have those extra effects. I mean, Purple Poison will add ATK to a dark spellcaster you control, and this will half the ATK of your opponent's monster. And then the last magician here is Noble Dragon Magician, which is a level 3 tuner. If you control an Odd Eyes monster, so a level 7 or higher Odd Eyes monster, you can reduce its level by 3, so that's going to be Pendulum Dragon, and then special summon this card from the hand or graveyard. So you're going into your level 7 synchros with this play. Obviously that Pendulum Dragon is going to be reduced to level 4, and then you go into your Meteor Burst usually. So those are the Magicians, and then finally I splashed in some Draco Slayers and some Drake Overlords. We got the True Draco Slayers, Master Pendulum and Luster Pendulum. And the Drake Overlords are Lector and Vector. All of these cards have to do with negating the effects of your opponent's Pendulum cards, whether it's negate the effects of your face-up Pendulum monsters while your opponent controls them, or negate the effects of all opponent's Pendulum zones. Also, this one's like... this one's different. This one's actually the most useful, I would say, because you can add a card with the same name as the card that you destroyed from your deck to your hand. And this one is a tuner, by the way, and it's also semi-limited, I should note. But I have these in here just for the fusion that I do run one of, as well as an XYZ that takes advantage of the name Draco Slayer / Drake Overlord, as well as a spell that I run one of. That again takes advantage of the name. So those are the monsters. For the spells, we have Double Sky Iris, which searches any Odd Eyes card. So not just a monster, it can search Odd Eyes Fusion too. It also protects your Magician, Performapal, and Odd Eyes cards from being targeted by opponent's card effects. So it's pretty cool that it combines Magician, Performapal, and Odd Eyes kind of into one card and one effect. It's one card that really kind of arcs over all of those different archetypes. Then to search that, we got Double Terraforming, pretty obvious here. Then Double Pendulum Call. This is kind of the one card that's not too budget friendly, maybe $3 or $4 for the common, but kind of necessary. I mean, you can cut it down to 1 if you want to save a couple of bucks. And it searches your Magician, so it gets you that Black Fang and that Dragon Pit that you do need to summon out the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, it being a level 7. So to keep going, we got 2 Ignite Reloads, which is just a great card. Thinking about using it in my main Pendulum Magician deck, because it will kind of recycle your or cycle in, I guess, to your deck any Pendulum cards you have in your hand, and then draw the same number of cards plus 1. So it's very similar to the card, the original Reload. It's just a little better because it gets you that additional plus 1, or I guess plus 1 in the effect. It actually it equals out to a break even. So Double Odd Eyes Fusion, which is another great card. It's a polymerization pretty much, but if you control no monsters, you can actually use monsters in your extra deck as the fusion material. So to go into Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, you would normally need an Odd Eyes and an Odd Eyes monster and a Pendulum monster, obviously on your side of the field or you're in your hand. But with Odd Eyes Fusion, the additional effect here is that you can use maybe Absolute Dragon as that Odd Eyes monster, and then Odd Eyes Venom Dragon as the Pendulum monster. So it kind of turns the duel around with one card. You can actually make a big play with just a single Odd Eyes Fusion. And then finally we have a Duelist Alliance, which searches a lot of the deck. It searches any of those Master Pendulum, Lector Pendulum, Vector Pendulum. Also Pendulum Call is a spell that can be searched with Duelist Alliance, as well as obviously Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And then finally a Draco Face-Off, which is pretty much the reason that all of those Draco Slayers and Draco Overlords are in the deck, because you can special summon one of them and then put the other one in your Pendulum Zone, so it's going to plus you 1. Pretty solid card, being a quick play. Like Draco Face-Off a lot. Thinking about using that again in my main Pendulum Magician deck. So with the extra deck now, we got the obvious choice, Electromite, which is probably just as expensive as Pendulum Call, but if you're going to skip out on a little bit, you might want to drop a Pendulum Call to save a couple of bucks, but definitely don't drop the Electromite. This is really the necessary card for this strategy. And because this is a budget deck, keeping it as cheap as can be. No land for Linkus, so I'm running Decode Talker instead, which is the other generic kind of downward pointing one that you use for your common extending of the board plays. Points up, unfortunately, so if you're playing against Pendulums, that can actually be a little bit detrimental. And then another splashable one here, another Link monster. We got Underclock Taker, which helps for those ATK situations. For the XYZs, we have Magister Paladin, the Ascending Draco Slayer. Adds a Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand during the end phase. Also special summons a face-up Draco Slayer from your extra deck. Can't be used as XYZ material, but not too big of a deal, because one of them is Luster Pendulum, which is a tuner, so that's perfect for your synchro plays. Some generic ones now, Castell and Honor Arc. I put these in here because this is budget, and it is actually possible that you may have one of these two cards or both of them already. So if you're going for the budget build and you want to save some money, these are definitely good options to run. If you can run rank 4s, you definitely want to run, or you could run some of these cards. And then finally, we got the Absolute Dragon, which is perfect for the Odd Eyes Fusion play, as well as just normally if you XYZ summon it and it's sent to the grave, you can summon one of your Odd Eyes monsters from the extra deck. So it's probably going to be Vortex, but that could be Meteor Burst. So here's Meteor Burst right here. Just a solid card because it will get you one of your Pendulum zones special summoned. So perfect for going in and attacking. And your opponent's monsters cannot activate effects during the battle phase, so another good effect. Also can be used as that material for Odd Eyes Fusion to send to the grave. Before I said Absolute, but you can send this one to the grave too with Odd Eyes Fusion, the additional effect of that card. Clearwing Synchro Dragon, decent card, just another level 7 Synchro that I decided to put in here. Negates level 5 or higher effects pretty much. And then a Beals, which is the level 8 synchro that I decided to include. A lot of generic level 8 synchros you can include. I mean, I was thinking about Stardust. I was thinking about Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. But this one is probably the cheapest, and also quite a good beat stick, because if you take damage from an attack or a card effect, this card gains ATK equal to the damage you took. So solid generic level 8 that you can get for pretty cheap because it was reprinted in Legendary Hero decks. So for some fusions now, we have Dinosaur Power, the Mighty Draco Slayer, Contact Fusion, which protects your monster and spell pendulum cards from being destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, you can special summon a Draco Slayer from your hand or graveyard. And also being a Contact Fusion is pretty cool because you don't have to use that extra card to summon it. We got Runai's Pendulum Dragon, which if you use Dragon Pit Magician as the material that is not Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon to make this card can actually attack 3 times on monsters during each battle phase, which is solid. Unfortunately, not just attacks in general, but on monsters it has to be. So not as good as it could be, but I like Runai's a lot. And then a Vortex Dragon, which is your solid negate, goes in so many Pendulum decks. I think it's the king of Odd Eyes right here, Vortex Dragon. Then we got a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, which requires 2 dark monsters on the field, so you can't make this card with the additional effect of Odd Eyes Fusion because they have to be on the field, not the extra deck. A lot of effects, 3 I think notable effects of this guy. You can gain ATK, so you can make this card have massive ATK. It gains ATK equal to the special summon monster of that your opponent controls. Also, it gains the effects and name of your opponent's level 5 or higher monster. And finally, if it's destroyed, you can destroy all your opponent's special summon monsters. So a lot of just solid effects on Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. And I see some decks even not Pendulum. I see a lot of actually variety of decks using Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. For example, I've seen Zombies play this card right here. And then the last card in the extra deck is Odd Eyes Venom Dragon, which I never really go into because it requires a Starving Venom monster as well as Odd Eyes monster. So you need this card right here, Venom Dragon, Fusion Dragon, to get Odd Eyes Venom Dragon, but it's got very similar effects to Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Also, it's the main reason why I have it in here is because it's a Pendulum card, so I can send it to the graveyard with Odd Eyes Fusion to make that additional effect possible with Odd Eyes Fusion. And that's the deck profile. Definitely was trying to keep it budget because I do like Pendulums a lot, like I said, but I wanted to keep it affordable and something that more people could watch the video and actually go out and buy the deck. If you're going for something that is not completely budget, I do have 2 additional cards here that you may want to include if you wanted to add some variety to this build. You could go with Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, which is another target for Odd Eyes Fusion if you want to send another Pendulum to the grave for your material. If you do happen to go through 2 Odd Eyes Fusion, it's also a level 7, which acts as a pendulum and a scale and a monster. So a rank 7, I should say, rank 7. Also, the other non-budget card here is Crystal Wing. It's just solid once per turn negate of monster effect, negate and destroy, solemn strike pretty much. 2 mid-range kind of cards, $5 or $6, maybe $7 for these cards. I just thought I'd include them in the video because maybe, like I said, add some variety. So that is the deck profile. Thanks so much for watching. Again, this was Performapal Odd Eyes Magician Budget Pendulums. You can probably get this deck for just over $40. So thanks for watching, and bye.